Hey everybody, it's Dave TV for the, what's today? The 16th of February, 2017. Big news. The Redskins were returning to WMAL. So what's up with that? You know, yesterday we got the big news that the Redskins games is starting this, in 2017 will also be heard on WMAL. Now, they're still going to be heard where they've been heard since 2008. That's Redskins owner Dan Snyder's radio station, ESPN 980. But they will also now be heard on Cumulus's News Talker, okay? And that's good because Dan Snyder's station, he has 3 signals of ESPN 980, okay? The main signal is 980 AM, okay? Their transmitter is in Hyattsville, and it's a good signal for an AM station, but at night it has to change power, and the day signal is good, but the night signal is iffy, especially if you live in the western suburbs like parts of Montgomery and Fairfax counties. It's hard to hear, okay, at night. And if the Redskins are playing at night and you're living in some place like Leesburg or even at Redskins Park out there in Ashburn, or somewhere in like Manassas or Frederick or Damascus or whatever, you're not, all of a sudden the game will go away. They do have 2 FM stations. They're what they call rim shots. One is down in the Warrenton area at 94.3, and one is down in what they call the Prince Frederick area, which was down in kind of southern Maryland at 92.7. So those, if you live in the southern suburbs of, say, Prince George's County, Charles, southern Fairfax County, Prince William County, yes, you can also listen to Redskins. You've been able to listen to Redskins on FM. However, now with WMAL, we had 2 more signals, okay? And the big kahuna is 105.9. 105.9 broadcasts from that big goalpost tower there in Merrifield, Virginia, which is at I-66 in the Beltway, okay? So they're right smack there in the middle of Fairfax County. So that's a good signal. Now, it does have some signal problems, 105.9, when you get up into the northeastern suburbs, like in the Prince George's County area, up near Laurel, up in, that kind of area, because 105.7 in Baltimore, CBS's sports talker in Baltimore, does have a adjacent channel interference problem. So yeah, their signal ain't so great up there. But if you're in that area, you can probably get 980 24/7, no problem. So that fixes a big coverage hole. Okay, so most of the inside the Beltway crowd and most of inside Northern Virginia and that whole area there, inner areas of Northern Virginia like Fairfax and Arlington and stuff, that's good coverage for them. So it fills in a lot of holes for the Redskins, and then they throw in 630, which kind of duplicates, I guess, 980's coverage area. So yeah, so it gives the Redskins pretty good blanket coverage for the whole metro area, okay? So that's a good thing. What does that mean for Dan Snyder and his ESPN 980 radio station? He's had that radio station for, I don't know when he bought that, somewhere in the early 2000s, something like that. The price of those signals has gone way down in terms of the value because, AM radio today is, very few people want to buy AM radio stations anymore. Most all your radio listening is done to FM. And so he doesn't really have a terribly valuable property there. He would lose money if he sold the stations. And I've always said that maybe Dan Snyder should just get out of the radio business completely. In a way, this move today, or yesterday that we saw, putting the Redskins on MAL, is in a way maybe a first exit for Dan Snyder to get out of the radio business and just get rid of ESPN and WTEM, ESPN 980, WTEM altogether. There have been budget cuts over there. They've let a lot of their people go, like Andy Pollin and stuff like that. Tony Kornheiser's no longer there. It's a shadow of its former self. And the reason is probably because, generally speaking, other than the Redskins, the station loses money. If you don't have the Redskins, if you take the Redskins out of ESPN 980, it's they're in a heated battle with CBS Sports Talker 106.7 WJFK, and there's just no way you're going to make much money with that station. and you kind of wonder why Dan Snyder got into the radio business altogether. I think the reason he did was because he just didn't like, it's his team, and he wanted to control the coverage of it, and he didn't like the way other stations, especially WJFK ran the Redskins from the late 90s and through the early to mid 2000s, and they were back with a super station, WJFK, back before they went to sports talk. They were a guy talk station, Don and Mike Howard Stern and the Redskins. And I think Dan Snyder got a very negative experience from that because, Don Geronimo especially, would always really slam the Redskins, and he was on WJFK, which carried the Redskins. And that just made Dan Snyder angry, and I think he just got to the point where he said, look, I just want my own station for the team. I don't want to have to deal with all that other crap going on. So that's one of the reasons why Dan Snyder probably got into the business of his own station. But I don't think it's been a terribly good move for him. So I think this is probably a first step in getting out of the radio business. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dan Snyder maybe doing some more deals with Cumulus, which owns WMAL. Not only now, maybe over the summer, maybe later this year, we'll see Cumulus now taking over operation of WTEM. And then maybe leasing out the maybe Snyder could do a lease deal with Cumulus. Cumulus only has two stations here in Washington. They have WMAL and they have WRQX. That's it. So they could have more stations in this market. They could buy a number of stations in this market and fill out their contingency here, and it probably would make a lot of economic sense for them to do that. And if they could bring Dan Snyder's stations into the Cumulus cluster here, at least two Rimshot FMers and 980, and they could work out a sports talker, and they could synergize it with their news talker WMAL. Hey, that's certainly a possibility. I've mentioned that possibility of WTOP doing that because WTOP, Hubbard in Washington, only owns basically two stations. They own WTOP and WFED. That's it. They could certainly have more brands in this market. Clear Channel iHeart has 5 major stations in this market. Hubbard only has 2, and Cumulus only has 2. So WMAL certainly could bring in Dan Snyder's radio arm and make that part of them, or at least operationally or even ownership-wise. So that's maybe a first step. So this whole thing about the Redskins going to WMAL, the Redskins were on WMAL for ever. Since 1942 up through the early 90s, they were on WMAL, the old AM 630 signal, and that was their home for many, 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 many years, 50-ish years. So so it's kind of a return to the old form there. The thing is, WMAL is not the station it used to be, okay? It used to be a major kind of middle-of-the-road news, talk, music station, a full-service station. Now it's kind of a bombastic righty-wing station, But that also may appeal to Dan Snyder because I hear Dan is kind of a Republican kind of guy, and he likes that right-wing talk, and so maybe he likes that direction MAL is in politically, and that's favorable to him, and that may have part of a major factor too in why he selected MAL as being his radio partner now. So I don't know. We will see. But I wouldn't be surprised to see this a first step for Snyder getting out of the radio business, and I wouldn't be surprised to see WTEM maybe moving lock, stock, and barrel sometime soon into the Cumulus fold and co-ownership, co-management there with MAL and RQX. So that's what I think might be happening. All right. Thanks for watching my Dave TV DC Media Edition for the 16th of Feb 2011.